Hello, everybody. My name is Carolina Cipres. I'm Director of Research at Zaragoza Logistics Center, and I wanted to talk to you about trends and innovation in supply chain and logistics. Just to give you a bit of background, when I was mentioning I work in Zaragoza Logistics Center, ZLC is a research and education center for logistics and supply chain management, and it's in the framework of this activity that I'm going to present you with these new trends for the sector. ZLC is affiliated to the MIT in US and to the University of Zaragoza in our region, Aragon, and it's has been created by the government of Aragon 18 years ago. So just to give you a bit of a framework when we are talking about trends at European level. At European level, there are new strategies that are being launched by the European Commission. Last year, the European Green Deal was created, and also a Europe Fit for the Digital Age. These strategies, as mentioned, were created before the pandemic, but now with the pandemic, they are even more important because all the recovery in Europe is going to be staying on the building blocks of sustainability and digitalization. So on these two strategies. And that means that it's going to impact all, as those trends are going to impact all activities in Europe in all sectors and specifically as well, logistics and supply chain management. But I wanted to tell you a bit about these strategies in general, and then we can see what does it mean for logistics, okay? So when we talk about the European Green Deal, what it is the ambition of this strategy is to be the first climate neutral continent for Europe to be the first climate neutral continent. And this is ambitious. This is looking for in 2050 to have no net emissions of greenhouse gases. But this is how we achieve to do this, how we want to achieve this, is to decouple the growth from the resource use. For instance, turning to a more circular economy oriented approach. But also that is not only in general, in terms of a strategy for the European Commission, but it's specifically this strategy for research. And this year already, the European Commission launched a research call based on the Green Deal to tackle this. And specifically for logistics, it covered both green ports and green airports. When we're talking about the other strategy, the Europe Fit for the Digital Age, this is to empower people with a new generation of technologies. So this is on the one hand to have a new economy for the future based on digitalization, but that fosters new companies, startups, and small businesses to appear and to grow. And for this, we need Europe to keep the pace, and we need regulations to enable this, to foster this, instead of hindering it. But because sometimes traditional regulations are not keeping up with the rhythm of the new digital technologies that are appearing. So this is a challenge that the European Commission has. But also to ensure fair competition for all companies in Europe in this world of the digital digitalization. But specifically, this also has to do with increased access to data, because data is at the core of the digital Europe. So this is the key for this strategy. And the building blocks for this strategy, the technologies that it is going to be building up upon are, for instance, artificial intelligence or online platforms. But something that is really a concern nowadays in Europe and in general is cybersecurity. With this new digital world, digitalization being part of all the activities, cybersecurity has to be in place, because we need to be secure and safe. We need to make sure that data is protected and that we are not vulnerable to attacks, right? So this is something that has to be totally embedded into this strategy. But also digital skills. We are talking about a new generation. We are talking about a future for Europe. But we need the younger people to have these digital skills that will be needed in this future Europe. So this is something also that this strategy is looking for, to enable the younger generation to have these required skills. So now that we have this framework of the Green Deal and the Europe Fit for the Digital Age, I wanted to show you examples of European research projects that are impacting on those strategies, either only in digitalization or both digitalization and sustainability. And then we will see how all of that ultimately translates into the future for logistics in Europe, okay? So the first project I wanted to talk to you about is INDIMO project, Inclusive Digital Mobility Solutions. And here, the two keywords for this project are inclusiveness and digitalization. And we will see now why, okay? So we are talking about using a universal design manual for digital transport services. The universal design manual is based on flexible use, simple use, equitable use. And this is something that is going to be setting the path for all this project, this universal design manual. But we want to make sure that this inclusive digital mobility toolbox that we create in this project has embedded cybersecurity, because as mentioned before, this is a concern every time we are talking about moving to a more digital world. But also ensuring personal data protection, because we, as users of a mobility transport service, are providing our personal data to the transport operators, or ultimately to the digital service providers behind those operators. We need to make sure that this personal data is protected. So this is something also that this project is going to take into account. And how is this project going to work? It already started 1 year ago, and the first step was to identify the needs from the users. So this is really something interesting in this project, that everything is going to be co-created with all the stakeholders that need to be involved in the toolbox. Okay, so we are going to identify the needs, then co-design the tools, co-implement those tools, and for that we have 5 pilots where we are going to implement those tools, and eventually with the learnings in these pilots we will do evaluation, and with this feedback we get from the pilot we will redesign the toolbox, and eventually we can transfer that to other aspects, other cities, other areas. Okay, so the pilots here are a tool to enable us to create this digital toolbox and not the ultimate goal. Okay? And here you can see the principles of universal design, but also the main target groups, stakeholders that are going to be participating in this project. So we have policymakers. Why? Because they are the ones regulating how the services, digital transport services are going to be accessed, and setting the regulations behind and the policies behind. So they have to be involved here. Also the developers, the technology providers, because they are the ones that are designing these digital tools. The operators, the transport operators, because they are providing the service, the transport service that is using the technology created by the developers, but they have to be totally aligned as well. And eventually the citizens. And when we talk about the citizens here, it's also including users that may be, for instance, users from the company perspective, because they can also be participating in this. So in general, users of this toolbox. Okay. Why I was mentioning inclusiveness is a key word in this project, because so far I was talking more about digitalization, because we are looking for everything to be accessible for this. We are saying that the transport solutions of the future are going to be digital, and we are assuming this is giving accessibility because everybody has a smartphone, everybody has internet connection, everybody has digital skills. That is not the truth. There are people left behind if we move to a digital world and we do not take into account all the potential users, all the potential target groups, right? And these accessibility problems that already exist at physical level and are being tackled, if we don't do the same, if we don't tackle them, the digital breach is going to be even bigger, because we are assuming digital skills. Everybody has digital skills, but elderly people may not have these digital skills, and low-income residents may not have a smartphone, and people living in rural areas may not have a good internet connection. So let's plan for all these target users to be involved and to design our services also for them, right? So what we are doing with these 5 pilots that I already mentioned before is to tackle different groups of these vulnerable people and target the services to them. For instance, in Emilia-Romagna, the service here is a parcel locker. That's a service that already exists in other areas, but we are deploying that in a rural area, and that is new. For that specific area, they were not used to this service. And rural residents and elderly people from this area are the target groups for this pilot. In Antwerp, it's a new service. We have a traffic light that takes longer whenever a camera detects that a blind person is going to cross the street. So this is a new service being deployed in Antwerp. In Galilee, this group is, this pilot is targeting Arab women in rural areas because there is no available public transport service there. So they need to use ride-sharing platform services, and we need to make sure that it's secure for them, right? So this is the key for this pilot. Then in Madrid, we have a food delivery platform, and it's based on the riders approach. So what is new here? What is the novelty here is that the target group for this pilot is elderly people. We were used that this food delivery was usually requested by younger generation, but we are targeting now elderly people. And this is something that we realized in the lockdown in Madrid, that and I assume it happened everywhere, that elderly people were isolated, were at home. They couldn't be with their relatives, and maybe they would have benefit from having access to these food delivery platforms and being served food at home. But the system is not targeting them, and they don't have the digital skills. So this is something that showed us the real potential for this. And then in Berlin, it's we are piloting a ride-sharing, crowd-sharing services. So as mentioned, these pilots are just the tool. They are not the ultimate goal. The pilots are helping us to assess the needs of the users in different contexts. And this is really providing very good information because it's giving the technology providers and also the transport operators information from the direct source, information from the vulnerable users and of what works, what doesn't work. And they can really adapt their service to the target groups. So together, they are going to co-design this toolkit after all this out from the pilots. And this is also giving the transferability potential, because once we assess what works and what doesn't work for different groups, that can be applied to those groups in any other area. So that was more to do with only digitalization with this social impact that I mentioned. But now we are going to look at a project that is taking into account also sustainability apart from digitalization. And it's called LEAD, Low Emission Adaptive Last Mile Logistics, Supporting On-Demand Economy Through Digital Twins. And the keywords here are on-demand economy and digital twins. Why I'm saying digital twin is a keyword here. It is the first time that digital twins are being used for urban logistics. Digital twins have been used for mimicking or simulating environments in different sectors, different areas, but for urban logistics, it is the first time they are being used. So why was this project funded? Because there was a rise on demand logistics, and this is something that we've been seeing in general through the last year, the rise of e-commerce and how we as customers are demanding more and more these services. And we cannot be utopic and think we can decrease e-commerce. This is something that is happening, is going to happen even more. So what we need to do is adapt and have cities ready for this. Because what happens, we have been targeting in the past the cities to be sustainable, to be decongested, tackling public transport and tackling private car use. But now the trend is reversing, and now it's not people using the car to go to the city. It's the staff being moved to the resident areas by delivery vehicles, right? But the congestion is the same or even more. So we need to find out new business models that support a new way of doing things that make this sustainable. And this is what LEAD is proposing: new business models, new ways of operating last mile delivery for this rise of the on-demand economy, and is supporting itself in the digital twins. So the digital twins are an enabler for this project. So what is LEAD? LEAD is going to create digital twins in 6 cities. We have Madrid, The Hague, Lyon, Porto, Budapest, and Oslo. And this is, first what we are going to do is understand the ASIS scenario for each one of the cities. And then we are going to create this simulation environment with the digital twin. And the digital twin is going to mimic the real world of these cities. And ultimately, we will create a roadmap of what is going to happen for on-demand economy in urban logistics, not only in the cities, but in general in Europe. So what are the strategies we are going to use to do that? First of all, to deploy innovative business models, because we have a new situation here. We have volatility of demand, delivery life cycles and costs, very short, and then we need to respond to those challenges. And for that, we need new business models to operate the last mile logistics, okay? So how going to approach this business model? Well, we are first looking at crowdsourced shipping, we are looking at capacity sharing, multi-echelon distribution, and then also having micro hubs, and then ultimately the physical internet. And the physical internet is a concept that I will be mentioning later on in this presentation. But also we have enablers for this, and we have the use of low emission delivery vehicles that can be electric delivery vehicles, but also can be cargo bikes or any other bikes. So alternative vehicles are going to support as well this. So as you see, this is a combination of models, strategies for distribution, sustainable vehicles. So it has to have all of that to be really sustainable. But everything is going to be data-driven, and this is why this project is also a digitalization project, because we need to have everything connected to be able to run these operations smoothly, and also because we are going to use the digital twin as a testing room for what we are going to try in these cities. So the concept for the digital twin comes from the fact that we are going to have the living labs in the physical world. We call it the living labs because this is not a pilot operating separately. This is something embedded into what is really happening in the operations of the city or of the companies working on these cities. And we are going to mimic that in the digital twin. And once we mimic that, we will have different models that are representing the reality of these cities. And we will validate that the digital twin is really mimicking what is happening in the physical world. And once we have that clear, we have all this data, then we can try different solutions in the digital twin. And we try different models, different solutions, we try to optimize, and we see what works and what doesn't work. And now we know this, we go back to the real world and we implement. So this digital twin is enabling us to try different things and to find out what works better, not having to actually deploy it in the city, and just go to the real implementation with something that we know that works, because we have really simulated it in an environment that is really mimicking the city itself, right? So as you can see, each one of the pilots of the living labs is going to have its digital twin. And for each one of the cities, we will have different business models and different strategies, different models for distribution that respond to the needs of that specific living lab. So this is going to be, there is going to be a library with all the models, and the different scenarios that the cities are going to try are going to be a combination of those models. And some model may be found in different cities, but in combination with other models. So that is what makes them, each of them, unique, and the transferability potential out of this, because we are really looking at many different options, and we are learning a lot of conclusions that we can then transfer to many other cities, okay? So the main innovations that this project is bringing, first of all, the digital twin, as mentioned, this is the first time it's used for last mile logistics, but we don't have to forget that the digital twin is the enabler, is the tool, is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is that cities are going to embrace technology and advances in data value. And this is what is the real ultimate goal of this project. But also we are going to co-create solutions for the on-demand economy. And this is a need that we have, and with the rise of e-commerce, we have seen that. And eventually, this is going to speed up the transition towards the physical internet paradigm. And this is the second time that I mentioned the physical internet paradigm. So I wanted to give you a bit of more information on what do we mean with the physical internet paradigm. First of all, you see here that I brought back again the two strategies that the European Commission launched, the Green Deal and the Europe Fit for the Digital Age. And this is so because the physical internet is creating sustainability for logistics, and its enablers are digitalization. So for sure, physical internet is using these two strategies as building blocks. Having said that, if the physical internet paradigm is going to be the future for logistics in Europe, and this is what is proposed by the European Technology Platform in Logistics, Alice, and it is building upon these two great strategies that the Commission has launched. This looks that this is something that is going to be a reality, okay? But I wanted to explain a bit more what the physical internet is. And first of all, the name. We call it physical internet because it mimics the way that the digital internet works. So in the digital internet, we have data flowing through the web seamlessly, and we have an email, for instance, that is sent to a user, and this email, or this email data, is bundled in a certain way and is moving through different servers, right? And we, as the recipient of the email, we do not care how this data was bundled, how this email went through different servers. We just care that we received the email, okay? So what will happen if for logistics it was the same? We will then have to have an open network where freight will move seamlessly, will be bundled in the best optimal way, and it will be moving through different nodes depending on where it makes more sense that this freight is going through, or that this freight is being stored, right? The key here would be to have neutrality of the system through a trustee, as there is neutrality in internet, and also to have being blind to the decisions taken. So as a shipper, I will not be deciding I'm going to use this warehouse and then I'm going to use this transport mode. No, this is something that with real-time information that we will have from this physical internet, the system itself will take those decisions and will decide with synchromodal information. Okay, it makes sense to take the rail now and to use the rail for my freight, and it makes sense to use this warehouse, even though it is my competitor warehouse, it makes sense to bundle this freight with this other shipper freight, right? So what needs to be there for this to happen? First of all, digitalization. We need everything to be interconnected. We need to have everything sensorized, and we need to have all this real-time information. And that is only possible with digitalization. But the consequence of this is if we are bundling freight, if we are using the best mode of transport possible at any given time, the consequence is sustainability. So sustainability is also being a pillar for this. But of course, there is another consequence, and that is cost savings. And that is why industry is also so looking forward to this new paradigm, because the cost savings can be huge with different simulations and small implementations on the physical internet that have been done. There have been savings of 40% of cost. So this is a promising concept, and I invite you all to keep up with this concept and its developments in Europe in the coming years. So that was all from my side. I thank you so much for your time, and you can reach me out at that email for anything. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Shuaibu Clement. I'm super excited to be a part of this great event. I'll be sharing with you in my space the logistics of the future with third-party logistics. I'm the transport and distribution manager for Niger Bev Limited. I have over a decade experience in the flour milling industry and the beverage industry, all of it combined. I'll be discussing with you some of the benefits of dealing with third-party logistics in Africa, and how to be able to identify some of the some of the companies that are into logistics in Africa and how to identify some of them and to actually be able to harness some of the working relationships that will help your business do better. Bottom line is technology has taken over virtually everything that we do. So there's a lot of flexibility in operations now, and there's a lot of profit that's been generated. The logistics space is a big business in Africa and in Nigeria particularly. The industry is huge. Few of the guys that are into this business right now are providing solutions to manufacturing companies, providing solutions to shipping companies. Products, services are actually able to reach to teaming consumers all over the place. So my line of business involves hauling. My line of business involves inventory management. It actually also involves warehouse management, and at some point I'm also largely involved in vehicular maintenance, tracking, and vehicle scheduling and all that. So in doing business or in managing third-party logistics companies in Nigeria, you need to really understand the terrain. You need to understand the languages that these people speak. You need to understand the culture. Our products are largely distributed within Nigeria and some parts of West African countries like Liberia, Guinea. I have a responsibility to source for vendors that can actually be able to help us in solving all of these issues. That is, I need to be able to identify logistics or third-party partners that can actually be able to get my goods across the whole of Nigeria and be able to get my goods across some parts of West African countries. So you'll agree with me in executing such a task. It's not an easy one because you need to identify people that will actually meet your expectations. Bottom line is, in this business, you don't sleep that much, honestly. you don't sleep because at every point in time we are always solving issues, and because in logistics solving logistics issues is always situational. It's always situational. It's not a straight line in the sense that you say, okay, this is the pattern, this is the way we've been doing it. You can wake up one morning and then something happens, and just like the way the crisis of the pandemic took almost everybody unaware. It is only businesses, that have projections, that have long-term plans that are still running, particularly manufacturing. Guys, thank you for having me here. I'll be sharing my knowledge. I'll be sharing my experience. I'll be sharing with you how to identify these guys in this logistics space and how to be able to maintain that relationship, that will help your business grow. And some of the issues that you are going to be having, some of the issues that you have dealing with these particular guys. So thank you once again for having me. So basically, in dealing with this subject, third-party logistics of the future in Africa, first of all, before you can actually be able to onboard a logistics company, bring them on board to your business, you need to identify some certain things. You need to understand their modus operandi. You need to understand their process. You need to understand how efficient they really are. You also need to do a background check on their history and to also make a lot of investigations on their credibility, the talents that they have. That is in terms of the teams that are in charge of their operations. Generally speaking, every manufacturing company will always need the services of third-party business partners. You will agree with me that it depends on what you do as a manufacturing company. You want to be focused on. You want to be focused more as a manufacturing company. You want to be focused more on production. Basically, you want to leave the part of distribution to somebody else so that you can actually be able to focus your energy more. This initiative helps you to cut down a lot of costs, and it helps you to be able to reach out to more of your customers, in record time. So basically, the third-party business is huge, and shipping companies and manufacturing companies will always partner together, to be able to make this a reality. So bottom line is you in onboarding or in bringing a third party business into your business or your line of business, you need to identify certain factors, you need to identify certain criteria. You need to also understand some of the problems that these third party logistics companies are also going to be facing. So you need to factor all of these things in place and look for people that are very efficient. Look for people that they have got the pedigree, they've got the data, they've got the resources, because there are a lot of things that will militate against you. There are a lot of factors that will work for you, a lot of factors that will work against you. So you need to establish, or you need to identify companies that have been in the space for a long time, or for a couple of times, or for a couple of years, and they've got the technical know-how to be able to execute. One thing that is primary is, as a manufacturing company, the joy of staying, or the benefit of being in business is, once your goods have been produced, they are, as fast as possible, they're able to get to your customers, because that is what keeps the business running. If you have your warehouse overstuffed and your warehouse, you're finding it extremely very, very difficult to get your goods out there to the market, oh, come on, at some point, your business, you'll be out of business, bottom line. So you need to identify professionals, you need to identify efficiency, you need to identify companies that got that competency that can complement your efforts, so that it won't just be a process that is redundant, a process that is inefficient. So guys, I'll just basically I'll narrow my discussions with you guys to just the hauling space. I won't dwell much on the warehousing. I won't dwell much on vehicular maintenance. I won't dwell much on warehousing or inventory management. We're going to dwell more on, because all of these things can actually be outsourced, but I'll focus more on the hauling space, that third party business is actually taking over the space, and I will be discussing some of the problems, some of the issues that are associated in, when you go into a business relationship with this kind of partners, some of the problems that you can actually be able to encounter, and some of the problems that you can actually be able to, some projections, First of all, you understand that when you will understand that we have a lot of, in Africa generally, we have a lot of issues with infrastructure, particularly the road networks. So you can have a business agreement with the third party partner, and which says, oh, I'm going to take your stuff from the port, and then you get your spot, your raw materials, let's say like in 2 days. But hey, there will always be circumstances, there will always be challenges, there will always be there are policemen on the way the way operations actually work here in Africa. Basically, there are a lot of bureaucracy. So 2 days can turn to 2 weeks, and 2 weeks can even turn to 2 months. So you need to be able to plan. You need to be able to understand that all of these intricacies can actually come into play. So there has to be so many options. So when you are placing an order, or you are placing a request, you need to factor all of these things in. So that's where the beauty of third party hauling comes into play, because you know that you don't have to put all of your eggs in one basket. And when you engage professionals that actually understand the rudiments of the business, you would always find out that regardless of whatever the crisis, or regardless of whatever the situation really is, you will always overcome. And once you are overcoming, it means that you are still in business. It means that you've got experience, and it also means that you know what you're doing. Because as a business, if you have to shut down because of logistics issues, then it means that your planning, your forecasting, and everything is faulty. So, but as a business, you don't want to onboard guys that absolutely don't know what they're doing. There are few of these partners in the industry that actually have the pedigree. There are few of them. There are very, very few of them, tested and trusted. I can guarantee you, there is the likes of there is Kobo Logistics, and there's God is Good. There are many of these guys. They have adopted. They've come to stay. Because the concept, the idea is efficiency. The idea is technology. The idea basically is making life easy, making life easy for everyone with the aid of technology. I'm also going to be discussing with you some of the challenges that these guys in the logistics space actually, some of the problems that you can actually be able to encounter, and how you can actually be able to overcome some of these issues. One of the problems that these businesses have is managing talents, or getting the services of resourceful people. A lot of these guys, some of them are newbies, and they put them in certain positions without having tested their abilities to actually really see if they can actually deliver. You agree with me that every industry requires experience, every industry requires talent. I mean, when I mean talent, people that actually have the capacity to actually be able to deliver. So some of these guys actually have these issues. So you must actually be able to identify people that you're dealing with. Do they have that technical capacity? Do they have that technical know-how to actually be able to manage, to manage your business for you? You don't want to hand over your business to someone who is cranky, somebody who doesn't really have the financial or the mental capacity, the mental capacity to deliver. So if we are going to be engaging anybody, you need to put all of that into considerations. You don't want to do that. You don't want to mess your business up. Another problem that you can likely encounter with these guys is their lack of a reporting system. You agree with me that data is generated every minute, every second once a transaction is established. Now, this data is not just being generated for the sake of it. The essence of generating data is for reporting, so that you can actually be able to track, to monitor efficiency, to monitor progress, to see if there are needs for you to review your processes, whether there's need for you to make some adjustments. Some of these guys have got big issues with their reporting system, so you need to put all of that into considerations. And then another thing is regulations. Every sector is being regulated. The problems you have most of the time is poor implementations. We have a lot of agencies that do the same kinds of assignments, and so you start to wonder, is a lot of clashes. There are several regulators in the industry. Most of these guys run into problems because of all of these issues, because of several regulations in the industry. There are some regulations that just come impromptu. You are not aware. There are so many unions. There are so many organizations. They just come up, and then so you need to actually understand that some of these things are actually there. And if you do not have that technical experience, they will ground your business. Another issue that most of these guys have is the lack of collaborations. You want to engage a business partner that has got a lot of connections, a lot of contacts, and has a lot of collaborations. Because the bottom line is, if I need to get my stock, for instance, Maiduguri is not Nigeria, and there's a lot of crisis actually going on there. But you realize that there's a huge business that is actually going on. There are a lot of people that are making a lot of millions off the crisis that is happening. And people are eating. People must eat food. And you must be able to identify partners that can actually be able to supply. I mean food as in food, or drinks, or whatever you call it. Could be drugs, for medications for people. People fall sick. There are guys that they understand the terrain. So when you are dealing with a partner, the partner says, Maiduguri, I can't go to Maiduguri, because there's this, and you need to get your stuff, you need to get your products to the market out there. People, once there's collaborations, you'll find out that all of these things can just be done seamlessly. But the industry is plagued with issues of lack of infrastructures. The road network is terrible, but there will always be alternatives. There are always alternative roads. There are always alternative routes. There will always be alternatives. There will always basically be alternatives. So you need to be able to find people that actually understand the road network system. When there's a crisis at the spot, what is the other alternative? If the law enforcement agencies. In Africa, you'll be surprised, the way these things are done. You see, there's a last mile on the road, there's police, there's VIO, they're just, the numbers are just countless. Local governments, I don't know, with no uniforms. And then they want to impound your truck with all kinds of frivolous issues, just to extort or just to disrupt your operations. So all of these things, you need to be able to understand the dynamics of all of these intricacies. If not, your business will run into a lot of bottlenecks. So the space is big. There is enough space for everyone to operate. There's enough space for everyone to make profits, but you need to identify the right channels. You need to identify the right materials. You need to identify the people that have that technical know-how, that understand the business in total. No serious manufacturing company wants to run a fleet system, where you have your trucks and then you move all those things with your trucks. If you do so, it will drain you. You will incur a lot of expenses. You will pay a lot of, you pay a lot of damages if customers don't get their stock or don't get their goods in record time. Some customers can be very, very frustrating when they have placed orders and they are unable to. So no business want to operate in that kind of a fashion. So for third-party logistics, it's a huge business. And I see most manufacturers and shipping companies, taking that burden off their neck and then handing it over to third-party partners. I see the business is huge, and for the future, the business has come to stay, and I see it's going to they're taking over the space. They're going to be taking over the space. So you, as a business, you need to identify these guys, and believe you me, once you have identified the right ones, then definitely you are good to go. All right, guys. Yes, taking this further, the space for third-party logistics is huge. Basically, like I said earlier. And the projections are that in few more years to come, the industry will take over the space. That's the manufacturing space in the areas of product redistribution. So basically, there's going to be a globalization of the economy, because these guys are working with sophisticated softwares that are actually able to track shipments, monitor events, the workflow of activities from every point to the next point. You understand how all of these things are actually moving around. So basically, the economy will become globalized. It's with the touch of a button, you can make a placement for an order, and then you can actually calculate the timing when all of these things are going to get to you. So it can only get better. I see the integration of the automation of technology. Technology has taken over the industry. So these guys are using technology to be more efficient. Some of the things that you would have ordinarily been doing manually, you are engaging technology. I've seen the likes of like Kobo Logistics. Most of their drivers don't know how to read and write, but they are taking that pain, to train drivers, to teach them how to use mobile phones, applications, how to how to log in, how to register trips, and how to, so basically, these guys, and they are getting better and better and better by the day. They are growing and they are efficient. The adoption of technology, everything has become so accessible. There's ease of traceability, there's ease of communication, and there's ease of reconciliation, because you have your data, I've got my data. Once there are issues, we can actually be able to sit on the round table. You bring out your data, I bring out my own data, we'll look at it together, and then we close that issue, we close that reconciliation. So basically, the industry is huge, and the guys that are playing that role in the industry have upgraded. Basically, they have that sense of responsibility to their clients, so to provide better service. So, but bottom line is, you need to identify you need to identify vendors or partners that can actually be able to fit into your specifications, because you don't just want to do business with people that are learning on the job. You don't do business with people that really don't understand the dynamics or the rudiments of the environment that they operate in, so that they don't put you into trouble. So, guys, I would like to get thank you for having me, and I hope that I've been able to share one or two experiences with you that can be of benefit to you. So I'll be glad if I can actually get feedbacks. You can ask me questions so we could learn from each other. This is a forum that actually avails you and avails me the opportunity to learn one or few other things from your own line of experience, so we can grow together. The industry is always changing. There are a lot of dynamics in the industry. So, guys, thanks for having me, and I look forward to another opportunity like this, so we can actually be able to rub minds together and then grow together. Thank you once again.
Hello and welcome. My name is Marcel Vollmer. I'm very pleased to be here at World Digital Week and hope we will have an interesting session. And I have prepared a little bit some insights about how to make procurement a key driver for the business to accelerate digital transformation post-COVID-19. We all have seen what a pandemic can do, and that's the reason why we have a virtual conference, and unfortunately not a conference where we have a chance to see each other, shake hands, and also have a little bit more time for networking. I would love to do that. Probably in the future, we will see some emerging technologies like holograms kicking in and helping us also to connect in a different way than just having another Zoom meeting or a webinar or whatever kind of format is picked here. So nevertheless, let's discuss a little bit the agenda for today. I've prepared 3 topics which I would like to discuss with you. Number 1, what are the global trends currently for supply chains and procurement in times of COVID-19, but also post-COVID-19? What are the bionic procurement trends, what we see, leveraging disruptive technologies, as well as also at the end, how to really make a digital transformation happening. These are the 3 topics I would like to cover today. Let's start with the global trends for supply chains. We all have seen what a pandemic can do. When the COVID-19 virus started in the Hubei area in China, in the Wuhan city, an entire area got a lockdown, and basically with that, we have seen an immediate interruption of supply chains. But there's much more what we see. And let me highlight 4 trends, what we see right now, the so-called mega trends. Number 1 is economic trends. We see a different speed in the different regions in the world. We see a trend of mega cities, urbanization, what is happening right now. There are terror trends like sustainability. We see a lot of regulations coming in right now, impacting all of us. And there are also trends like infrastructure. The infrastructure needed, and we see how fast it can get disrupted. Probably you remember when the Evergreen, the ship, got stuck at the Suez Canal, how fast it can happen also that basically an entire waterway is getting closed with impact on all supply chains globally. There are technology trends. We see technology is changing our life. I'm pretty sure everyone has, in the meantime, a smartphone. So some of you might use it right now. I hope not, but nevertheless, the technology has really changed fundamentally our life, how we work, and also how we use it for private purpose as well as for business purpose. There are more trends like meta trends, like demographic shifts in the different regions in the world. Compare China, for example, with the one-child politics, which was in place for a very long time. We see Europe with also a different demographic development with 1.3, 1.4 childs per average per woman, which is basically leading to a shrinking population, what we have. And coming back to COVID-19, of course, there's uncertainty. We don't know what we don't know. And a black swan event like COVID-19 has fundamentally changed our life. Hopefully, we will see now really that, and you see the different curves here, that the economic activity, the green one at the top of this chart here, is going back to the levels like before for all the industries. There are different industries impacted by COVID-19, and there's a different speed also of discovery for your supply chain. And before I come to the procurement portion, to the main topic of this presentation today, let me briefly bring it in context. A supply chain, you can define it with 4 words: plan, source, make, and deliver. And the sourcing part is basically the core focus, what procurement is, all the source to pay related activities what we have. And the supply chain is very impactful. When we see now the current supply chain and the global trade is in the range of about 18 trillion US dollar. It is expected to grow to 19 trillion by 2023. That's the latest forecast. And you see also the green lines where we have a positive trend, a positive development with an increase in global trade. And the red one, not a big surprise, the main what you see here in the center is the trade between United States and China with a negative development due to the trade war, the current conflict, what we see. So to bring this in context, the global GDP is around 85 trillion. And 18 today, in the future, 19 trillion is what the global trade is about. So you can imagine with such a significant portion, almost 20% of the global trade is getting impacted here and is processed by global supply chains. The current priorities, what we see, are basically 3 main topics. Number 1 is the risk mitigation, the risk management. So something like the COVID-19 crisis has really led to fundamental conversations about how to mitigate the risk in the future, how to ensure if one supplier can't deliver, an entire region get a lockdown, how can we ensure that we keep the lights on, that manufacturing can continue to run by having alternative sources, at least for a certain period of time. We see also a continuous trend in the reduction of cost. So direct and indirect material is impacted. Companies are looking how to save money, which is not a big surprise. And this is the core element, the core activity, what procurement does, generating savings and with that contributing to the margin ambition of a company. We also see a change in the collaboration between companies and suppliers. Why is that important? Risk management is a great example on that. An open conversation might help here to think about creative ways in helping to ensure that you have early insights, what's happening, and is this a more lasting disruption, or is it something which can be solved in a short period of time? On the other side, we see also a shift in the way on how to engage and interact with suppliers. Driving innovations, for example, is a great example here by getting access to the latest technologies, latest trends to really help also your own business to go to the next level and benefit from the technology innovations, what you have or what you could get access to. Smartphone, by the way, is another great example on that. When Tim Cook was the chief supply chain officer, he invented the Gorilla Glass with Corning, the supplier, and that's one of the elements, one of the reasons why the smartphone is a great success. And in the meantime, this glass is a standard and the reason why we can use it day and night, and hopefully not the entire night, that you also have some time to rest and to sleep. What does it do and what does it mean right now? Basically, procurement is now far away from the transactional support it started. 1950s, 1960s, this was basically the start where really the professional procurement function evolved and continued to a service function, to functional excellence. And in the meantime, it is more cost-functional, really looking into value drivers, helping also to get competitive advantage by having the right approach in procurement and ideally become a digitally empowered and enabled business partner for all lines of business. Are we there yet? No, we are not at this point. And when you ask C-level executives, and allow me to use here two quotes, what I got on a regular basis confronted with in my different roles as Chief Procurement Officer at SAP, when I talk to other C-level executives, but also being a Chief Procurement Officer by myself. I've seen that, and I've seen also what my peers are looking into, what they would like to achieve. So for C-level executives, but basically for all the people in an organization, the question is pretty simple. Why not just having an app for buying everything what you need? Basically having an Apple easy and Google fast way in getting what you need. I know it sounds simple, but basically we are not there at this point in time. And procurement has a challenge to basically get there, to make the Amazonification available. So having an Amazon-like experience, eBay-like experience, Alibaba, to that everyone without any training can search for products or even for services and basically just have a few clicks to get it done and get whatever you need. This is the desire of the business side, the employees, the C-level executives. On the other side, it is interesting when I had a chance to talk in my different roles with chief procurement officers, and when I was a CPO or a chief operating officer by driving integrations of Ariba, Fieldglass, Concur, I was very often also looking on the agenda. The same, by the way, at conferences where I had the pleasure to speak at, that we are still trying to solve problems we had 10 years, 20 years back on the agenda. E-procurement is not a new topic. The priorities I have listed, like risk management, this is not entirely new. The supply chain disruption happened before. I got appointed as CPO in the year 2011, so exactly 10 years back. And probably some of you might remember what happened in that year. There was Fukushima, this was just after I started my role, a few weeks later, and another event was the flood in Thailand. What happened to that? Basically, we all have seen it. A fundamental disruption of the tier 1, tier 2 suppliers with impact to our supply chain. And this is something also where we now need to look into how will the future look like? What are the next priorities what we have? And let me have a look here into where are we today. And I know you never can come up with a slide highlighting everything for all companies applicable. So therefore, I have focused now on the more generalistic terms by saying where are companies today and what are the challenges what they have. And at BCG, we have structured and clustered it in 3 buckets. The value generating side, we have it combined in the house of procurement. The enabler, so basically the target operating model, the process, the organization, the people, the collaboration, what we have. And finally, also the data foundation, including the analytics. What are the systems we are using? And wherever you are today, and I will not talk so much about where you are today, because this might be really different from company to company, different in the industries you are in, as well as also on the priorities. What is the business, what you have? But let's very briefly look into that. What are the trends and what is happening right now? What we see from different insights like the Procurement Professional Survey from 2021, more than 1,100 people contributed to that, sharing their thoughts, their insights, and confirm basically the value drivers are definitely the number 1 priorities, what CPOs and procurement executives want to do to increase the value contribution of the procurement function. And number 1 is resilience and risk management for the supply chain. The second one is the supplier innovations. I mentioned the Apple example with the Gorilla Glass, but there are much more. Look at the automotive industries, the battery technology combined now with electric vehicles. There are many more examples up to entire business models. So not sure if you're using the coffee taps, another great example for an innovation driven from Nestle together with a supplier. It was Krups at this time when they started developing the right machines by selling coffee in a different way. Starbucks, another great element and idea for having a disruptive business model. So this works in a collaboration and also benefiting and leveraging innovations what suppliers have. Sustainability is currently a top priority. We see this by regulations coming in from different angles. The United States joined back the Paris Agreement, so to reduce the CO2 emissions. Europe is now having regulations for sustainability on the CO2 footprint to limit the emissions for the different products. Companies looking in scope 1, scope 2, but mainly scope 3 is relevant for procurement. What is the CO2 footprint from all the goods what you buy as a company? And later on also it's important not only what you get to produce the products, it is also how do you basically distribute it to your customers, wholesalers, other businesses, or even to the private sector. So another one is looking into agility, how to be agile, have different working models in place. We all know what it means working from home, but it is much more. Agility means also that you need to have a different setup of teams coming together and basically helping the business to support the value generation. Finally, we see also the savings, the accelerated value capture with the different insights in spend analytics, but also contributing really to price reduction, but much more really to have a sustainable model in generating savings for the company. I elaborated a little bit more on the value side because it's very important. That's a key trend, what we see right now, what procurement functions are looking for. On the other side, we have NA+, so a stakeholder-centric source-to-pay process. We see the right setup on the organizational side, what needs to fit really to help the business, and also having an organization which fits to the business partner engagement, what you have. The collaboration, not only internally with business partners, also externally with suppliers, which is very important. You need to find a way to measure the performance and also develop suppliers in the right way with them, with the insights, what you get on your overall source-to-pay process. And finally, it is the people. People are very important, and there's a shift in the mindset right now. You need to think about how to augment the human capabilities, what you have with your team, with the right technology. And here we come to the last topic, technology, the data foundation. So we see now artificial intelligence, machine learning as one of the emerging technologies. We see also that we have cockpits in place for supply chain control towers, for procurement, to really get an overview about all the different analytical insights and also leveraging them, the different data to really know what you have as spend buckets that you can bring this to the table when you negotiate with suppliers. There's more what is needed and needs to get supported by technology. It is getting insights in risk information, getting insights in sustainability information, the transparency what you need, but also using technology to have highly automated, lights out processes, at least for certain portions of the business and the processes what you are driving. Why to do that, and what are the benefits of that? I have brought together an overview here on the different KPIs. I will not walk through all of them, but basically what you need to have is a business case. And it doesn't matter if you measure the savings, what you realize, if you measure the quality improvement, what you can contribute to the business, sustainability, to meet your targets, but also to save the CO2 emissions as one example, to reduce the risk to boost revenue by thinking about new innovations which can help to come up with great products, from smartphones to electric cars or the coffee taps example what I mentioned, but also the speed. Today we see how fast consumer behavior and interest is changing. So therefore procurement needs to be agile too, to help here. You see also savings on the right side, the value enablers, the target operating model. So I will not go through all the different details, but basically a business case with also a way to measure the impact is absolutely key. And how to do that? We have talked already a little bit about technology. And emerging technologies is what we see. And I mentioned machine learning, artificial intelligence as examples. There's much more what you see in supply chain and in procurement, like Internet of Things, for example. You see autonomous machines, vehicles. You see also robots, automation in your warehouse. So different elements of that. So I have an overview on that. What is important is looking into the future. And the future, not only for procurement, but basically for the business, for the company of the future is bionic. And what does this mean? It means that you combine the capabilities of your people, what you have, and you see it on the right side, on the bottom, with the technologies, the advancing technologies, what is available in the market. And by that, what can you achieve? And why should you do that? It's pretty simple, because the outcome is what counts to really improve the performance and leverage the advanced and emerging technologies and combine it in the right way that the people have everything what they need to focus on the value generating activities and not getting really bored by processing purchase orders, for example, by looking into spend information in different systems. This is what machines can do. The same is for purchase order or invoice automation. Machines can do this much faster and error-prone than humans can do that. And this is exactly also why we need to look in ways how the humans can work together with the technology available. There's a big range of technologies. I mentioned already some of them. There are foundational technologies like cloud, what we see right now, having the right interfaces into the different systems, the connectivity, the mobile enablement, what we see. But there's much more like edge devices, big data analytics, blockchain as a technology. We will see 3D printing also helping now to augment the manufacturing process in the future. We see also more advanced technologies on the horizon, like nanotechnology or smart implants, connected neocortex, what might be available in the future. I will not be too much on the speculation side. And we all know that predictions are difficult, especially about the future. It's not me saying that, it is Winston Churchill, Mark Twain, or Niels Bohr. It's not 100% clear who really said it first, but it's perfectly true that we don't know what we don't know at this point in time, and we will see which technologies we really will benefit from. There are technologies we have already available today. It is Google Maps I use today. I used Uber to get where I am right now. I use Siri on a regular basis to speak certain commands in my smartphone, or also the text when I send an email, when I reply to a text message. I not very often use my fingers. I'm way too slow. The machine can do this much better for me to basically just translate my voice into the written language to respond back. Sorry for my German accent. I know Siri is sometimes also heavily struggling with that. I lived 3 years in the United States in Atlanta, Georgia. Really a beautiful place to be, but you see, I couldn't get rid of my accent. Sorry for that. There's more technology what we see. You can also use Alexa, you can use Cortana on your Microsoft system, or a Google Assistant. It is just some examples what you see. There are also more examples when you look now in supply chain and how will procurement look in the future as integrated part of a supply chain. A very high automation will also come by the robots you use for your warehouse, but also the autonomous vehicles. We see still some self-driving capabilities available today. We know there are limitations, but basically we only can imagine how this will change in the future and what the impact will be. So let's now talk a little bit more about my last point, what I would like to address with you today. How to make the digital transformation happen, how to unleash the value potential, what a digital supply chain and procurement can really bring. And when you look at procurement, I would say it is very fair to say, and that's a learning what I see in my daily work when I talk to C-level executives in what is it really what they think about. And of course, they are thinking about the future. They are thinking about what's next, what is my vision for the next 3, 4, 5 years out from today. And they're looking also not only jumping forward, looking into the future on the visionary side, they are also looking very detailed in what is the value potential we can realize and what are potential quick wins, what we could come up with to ensure that we really transform our organization to focus on the value generating side. And we talk a lot about digital or digital transformation. Digital is more than just tools. It is not only talking about technologies. This is what you see on the top right here in this slide. It is also really bringing the business value generating to life, having the right strategic direction, solving the pain points what procurement has today. I mentioned the quote from a CEO about why is it so difficult to order anything right now. It needs to be really Apple easy, Amazon-like, eBay, Alibaba-like, what is expected today. And this is exactly also what procurement takes very serious, where procurement is investing right now, thinking about how can we free up resources to focus on value generating activities and get rid of whatever can get automated by technology. But we see also there's a change on the organizational side, on the capabilities needed. The process is what we see as the starting point, what companies should really do, focusing on the customers, the stakeholders. How do you need to transform your process to ensure that it is very easy to connect with you, and you need to have an organization fitting to that. Finally, is also having access to technology is a great thing, no doubt about that. And we have seen what technology does and how we are using it on a daily basis. Nevertheless, there is a digital mindset needed. How do you change your behavior? What is it really that you can benefit from leveraging the technology? And it's not only a threat. I know a lot of people think about, oh, wow, I'm more working on operational activities. How will this change if machines take over my job? When you look back and look at the time when I was born, there were 3.6 billion people on Earth. Now we are close to 8 billion people. And look at the different technology. My technology, what was available when I was born, was TV, which was black and white. There was a phone which went in that way, dialing one number, by the way, waiting that the wheel is getting back, and so on. Millennials might now think this guy must be crazy. What the heck is he talking about? People a little bit older might remember, yes, there was something really weird, and there was life prior to the smartphone. And this is exactly also the shift where we need to think about the ways augmenting the way how we work, and therefore the bionic capabilities, what we need to integrate in our thinking and the way how we run the business. Nevertheless, it was very insightful, and I got this from a book I read, The Quantum Leap, that 84% of digital transformation processes do not succeed. Wow, 84%. And I know it is measured against the objectives, but the reason is really trying to fit new digital capabilities, ways of working into old structures with outdated processes. And if you have new technology in a not streamlined process, basically you get still an outdated process on new technology, which is not really giving you the benefit what you could get out of that. And if you want to be successful in procurement, probably a different approach might make sense. And this is the last content slide for my talk today. And I would like to highlight 5 steps, what we have learned on the strategy consulting side at BCG, but also what we see out there, what's happening every day when companies transform, and those transforming successfully is what you see, what they are doing, starting really with reimagine of the procurement journey by looking into what are the processes today, what are pain points, what we see, and how can we fix them. The SS assessment might be accompanied with a benchmarking. Where do I want to be in the future? How can I evaluate the current best practices available in the market? What are the areas I can really improve? And what is my ambition? Not everything is equally important for every company. It depends on the business, on the industry. So therefore, you need to look into that, what you really want to do. Finally, also, you see the procurement roadmap definition. After the assessment, the first 2 steps, the benchmarking, you come to the roadmap. And then the task is to identify the right tools. What is it what helps you? Do you want to have a suite solution? It depends on the requirements. There is not yes or no answer on that. It is a question about what do you want to achieve. For lots of companies, a suite might be a great idea, and it can be that this gets augmented with selected tools or also with additional capabilities by tools like AI-enabled tools for driving negotiations. Things like that, helping you to really monitoring risk, now thinking about how do you measure really and get transparency in your supply chain, to think about sustainability. This is what you need to think about, defining, and it is driven by the right business case, answering the question about what do you need to help your business and really become a value generating function in the future. Finally, you should not think necessarily only about 3, 4, 5 years implementation roadmap. And I'm saying that I was more than 15 years in the software industry. I've seen lots of these very long lasting projects. Today, we talk about agile. It's not only how procurement needs to work, I introduced earlier, it is also thinking about how can you really realize value fast by benefiting from available technologies. And how do you do that? Basically, in a way that you have more sprints by getting really your organization and the technology to the next level, but also thinking about what is the right speed for your company. And this depends on your business. This depends on your culture, the way what you do. So basically, let me conclude this, and that's the final slide I want to show you today. The future is ours. It's yours to define it. And digital technologies can help. They can accelerate and elevate the procurement function to the next level to become a bionic function focusing on strategic sourcing, focusing on value generating. And I hope that all of you will be successful, will have a great career in procurement if you work in the function, but also that you really see that procurement goes to the next level, really helping the business. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope it was insightful, sharing some thoughts about how procurement will transform in the future, how to become bionic and leveraging the available technologies. Thank you very much. Feel free to connect with me on social media, on LinkedIn. You see my Twitter handle here. I look forward to connecting with you, and I really hope in the future that we will have a chance to meet in person, that we come back at a conference and we'll have a chance also to chat and go for a live Q&A session. I would love to do that. Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure, and I look forward connecting with you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hola, soy Martín Bottini, soy profesional de logística y también de comercialización. Soy de Argentina, vivo actualmente en Argentina y voy a hacer una breve presentación sobre logística intermodal en América del Sur. ¿Por qué la intermodalidad? Porque es una forma de realizar la logística de una forma más productiva, por ende más competitiva, y también porque es una forma de hacerla más amable con el medio ambiente. La logística intermodal realiza operaciones en las que se involucran varios medios de transporte, ¿sí? ¿Cuál es la diferencia? Por ejemplo, una de las diferencias con el transporte multimodal, que se utiliza una única medida de carga, que en general es el contenedor. Esto quiere decir que el transporte intermodal puede utilizar diferentes medios de transporte, pero la carga mantiene un estándar en su medida. Uno de los beneficios más significativos que tiene el transporte intermodal es que aumenta la eficacia de la operación, ¿sí? Esto se refleja en una reducción en todo lo que es la operación, en la agilización de los diferentes transbordos de las mercaderías. Y además con este tipo de operaciones, las inspecciones que se realizan llevan menos tiempo, ¿sí? Esto porque al ser siempre un contenedor, lleva un precinto, se verifica el precinto y es mucho más rápido y simple. Esto afecta positivamente en todos los tiempos de espera, ¿sí? Y obviamente le da una agilidad al servicio que se termina produciendo en menores costos. Lo mismo sucede con los tiempos de carga, de descarga, ¿sí? Al no haber un intercambio de unidad, al ser con un contenedor, ¿sí? Se van bajando todo lo que es el tiempo de manipuleo. Como se utilizan diferentes medios de transporte, ¿sí? Cada encargado de ese tramo emite un documento. Esto hace que en cada tramo, cada operador, ¿sí? Es el responsable individual de ese traslado de la mercadería. Bueno, acá minimicé la cámara para que se pueda ver bien la filmina. Hablamos un poquito de lo que es la infraestructura. Desde ya es muy importante poder generar la infraestructura adecuada para poder operar a nivel logística intermodal. Esta inversión es fundamental en los puertos principalmente, en las diferentes zonas aduaneras logísticas, las conexiones con las industrias y generar y potenciar diferentes plataformas logísticas. Es muy importante desde mi punto de vista, es algo que vengo insistiendo hace años en la inversión en ferrocarril, en los diferentes países, tanto internamente como en las conexiones internacionales. También invertir en todo lo que es rutas, carreteras. Esto desde ya reduce tiempos de tránsito, pero también minimiza accidentes. Y con respecto a la gestión, que para mí es muy importante, que las diferentes agentes que van a intervenir en esta modalidad estén enfocados, estén especializados en lo que es la logística intermodal. La comunicación y el trabajo en conjunto entre estos agentes, la naviera, operadores logísticos, transporte terrestre, las aduanas, en realidad todas las administraciones públicas, ¿sí? Por eso es importante que los operadores logísticos nos hagamos cargo del negocio en su totalidad. Como hablaba en la filmina anterior, la inversión en infraestructura es muy importante para poder conectar los diferentes nodos, ¿sí? El ferrocarril tiene que llegar a los puertos, tiene que llegar a las diferentes industrias, principalmente a las grandes industrias. Los puertos tienen que tener una infraestructura para poder operar mayor cantidad de contenedores y desde diferentes transportes, desde el camión, desde el ferrocarril. Invertir en lo que es la capacidad de acopio de los puertos y también tener una mayor capacidad de carga y descarga de los buques. Bueno, acá hablo de monetizar los costes externos, ¿sí? Tenemos costes económicos, sociales, ambientales, que no se tienen en cuenta. lo que es la parte económica, lo que es infraestructura y operación, lo que es personal, mantenimiento, seguro, energía, etcétera. En la parte de costos sociales están los tiempos de viaje, el viaje, la espera, la transferencia, todo lo que tiene que ver con accidentes relativos, digamos, a la víctima, el daño social y moral de esos accidentes, y también todos los costos ambientales, ¿sí? Todos los contaminantes atmosféricos, ruidos, gases de efecto invernadero, ocupación de suelo, etcétera. Por eso es muy importante poder cuantificar y monetizar los costes externos para tener una correcta inclusión en el proceso de planificación. Este es uno de los puntos más importantes para poder desarrollar una operación intermodal. Y tiene que ver con la estrategia. Y me refiero a la estrategia de la región. Si no logramos como región tener una estrategia en común, ¿sí? No vamos a poder potenciar esta modalidad. Por eso es importante pensar y desarrollar esta estrategia más allá de las economías y políticas diferentes de cada país. Tenemos que lograr que América del Sur sea una plataforma logística global. Sabemos que las plataformas logísticas juegan un papel realmente importante dentro de lo que es la estructura económica dentro de un país, ¿sí? Pero también a nivel global, por su desempeño global, y se refleja eso a nivel de producción, de exportación, importación de productos, materia primas y demás. Así que es muy importante poder lograr esta estrategia regional. Son muchos los beneficios que ha traído y que seguirá trayendo sin ningún tipo de duda las diferentes tecnologías en toda la logística en general, ¿sí? Hay que seguir desarrollando esto, hay que aprovechar las diferentes tecnologías que hoy hay en el mercado para los almacenes, para los diferentes intercambios de mercadería. Esto nos está haciendo ganar realmente en tiempo, en productividad, se han minimizado los accidentes, daños de mercadería como de personal, y las bases de datos nos están dando una perspectiva diferente a la que teníamos y nos está ayudando a poder ir mejorando continuamente. En lo que es intermodal, aparte de todo esto, es fundamental poder utilizar las tecnologías para los sistemas de información, ¿sí? Que haya un nexo de comunicación entre los diferentes agentes por un lado, entre las diferentes administraciones públicas, en realidad entre toda la cadena intermodal. Bueno, ya lo he comentado antes, hay que potenciar todas las terminales intermodales, ¿sí? Hay que invertir, por supuesto, en infraestructura y adecuarlas para todo lo que son este intercambio modal. Desde mi punto de vista, fundamental potenciar las redes ferroviarias, como dije antes, en cada país, pero también las conexiones internacionales. Más adelante vamos a ver algunas de estas conexiones. Sigo insistiendo en la gestión, es fundamental, lo dije antes, que nosotros como operadores logísticos asumamos la función de gestionar toda la logística intermodal, que nos hagamos cargo de todo ese proceso. Tenemos que dar una oferta que sea integral, ¿sí? Que logre vincular a los diferentes agentes, a las terminales, etc. Es fundamental para el éxito de la logística intermodal. Esta es una de las propuestas que hago para pensar y desarrollar la inclusión de los contenedores de 53 pies en la región. Se utiliza en América del Norte, lo empezó a utilizar Brasil, ¿sí? Necesitamos que el resto de la región pueda tener la habilitación de estos contenedores y obviamente la infraestructura para poder operar este tipo de contenedores. Estos contenedores, por supuesto, tienen mayor capacidad, ¿sí? Es claro esto. Esto significa mayor productividad, ¿sí? Menor costo. Hay menos operación, por lo ende también es más amable con el medio ambiente, por lo cual, como se ve claramente, también la parte económica acá, tenemos que lograr tener una infraestructura y una legislación para poder operar estos contenedores, ya que los beneficios son muy importantes. Estas son las conexiones ferroviarias internacionales que les comenté anteriormente. Como se puede ver claramente, tenemos muchas conexiones ferroviarias en la región entre los diferentes países, con lo cual hay que aprovechar esto, hay que potenciar estas conexiones. En algunos casos, como se ve acá, ¿sí? Tenemos diferentes trochas ferroviarias, pero a pesar de eso se puede trabajar en los cambios de medio a través de las bases logísticas. Esto es una de las cuestiones fundamentales para economizar los flujos logísticos. Bueno, acá puse algunos de los ejemplos de los corredores comerciales que tenemos en la región. En este caso puse 3 de los más extensos que tenemos, ¿sí? Sin entrar en detalle en cada uno porque hay varios, pero es increíble cómo podemos llegar desde la zona de San Pablo, el puerto de Santos a Iquique, pasando por diferentes países, o desde Argentina al Pacífico, a Perú. Tenemos que potenciar eso. Hemos nombrado ya cuáles son los beneficios de esta operación. Hay una optimización en los diferentes flujos que trabajan en esta operación, a la diferencia de la logística multimodal. Al trabajar con la misma unidad, en este caso contenedores, se logra optimizar mayormente la cadena logística. Otro de los beneficios es la estrategia en común, ¿sí? En toda la región, fundamental, ¿sí? Esto va a lograr que seamos competitivos, como puse en la presentación. Ser competitivo, ¿sí? Al ser competitivo, ¿qué logramos? Logramos algo fundamental, meter mercadería en nuevos mercados, ¿sí? Cosa que no podemos hacer tal vez hoy en diferentes puntos de toda nuestra región por falta de competitividad, por la complejidad de la operación y demás. Esto creo que también tiene que ser un ítem importante para pensar el porqué de la logística intermodal. Ganar mercados, ¿sí? Tenemos que aumentar el share que tiene la región a nivel global, ¿sí? Aumentar el share en los mercados actuales que se opera, pero aumentar el share global ganando nuevos mercados. Y obviamente tener un saving menor, ser más competitivo con respecto a otras regiones del mundo. Bueno, como comentario final, quiero reiterar la importancia de desarrollar servicio logístico en toda la región, en realidad en todo el mundo, pero ahora hablando particularmente de nuestra región. Creo que la clave es pensar de forma diferente la logística, ¿sí? Y obviamente hay que seguir invirtiendo en todo lo que es infraestructura, lograr tener estrategias en común entre los diferentes países y tener una base de estrategia en toda la región. Tenemos que lograr ser competitivos. Y cuando me refiero a ser competitivo, hablo obviamente en la parte económica, pero también en la parte operativa, ¿sí? Que nuestros clientes globales nos elijan como región porque tenemos un buen servicio, damos una solución operativa y tenemos buen precio, ¿sí? Como puse en la frase final, intermodal es una forma de realizar el juego y creo que de eso se trata. Espero que les haya gustado la presentación. Es para extenderse mucho y profundizar en cada ítem, pero es un pantallazo general de la idea que quería explayar. Hasta luego y disfruten.
Good day, everyone, and welcome in this section of the Digital Week's conference, Logistics of the Future, called the Human Freight Management in the Digital Era. My name is Alessandro Galati. I'm an Italian freight forwarder, and I hope in this short video I will be able to explain you how the digitalization of the supply chain still requires a human touch. Let's see. So before starting talking digitalization in the supply chain, let's talk digital in general. Because digital nowadays is everywhere. We're having Airbnb, we're having Google, smartphones are in our hands pretty much all day long. We're having Facebook and so on. Most of these applications you're seeing are having success because we use all of them every day. YouTube is no longer only for watching videos, but also for learning. Facebook, you open it every day. Android, Apple. Digital is really everywhere nowadays. So what is the key of the success of this digital application? Well, it's simple because these applications have been watching the humans through digital. So we can resume this by saying that these applications have been successful because they were looking at humans by digital lens, and they were looking at digital by human lens, creating needs that were not in the common life of every day by combining the human experience with the digital experience. How did they combine this? Because digital experience is brief, while human experience is long-lasting. Well, they did it pretty easy because they just made our life easier. So, does anyone knows the meaning of Motley? Well, if you were asking this question 20 years ago, maybe you would have gone picking up your dictionary. Now you just check on Google. What if you forget to send that offer to your customer and it was already off? Back then you were missing a sale. Right now you're having smartphones, so you can still send your email from your home or later on at night. And what about missing the last bus for the night? Back then you would leave a class earlier to not miss the last bus, and nowadays you're having Uber, so you no longer need to miss a part of your class. And for example, in my case, if we ran out of sauce, we would take pasta, so broccoli. Instead, right now you have Deliveroo. So digital is really everywhere, and it helps us in our life as well as in our business. So as we said, we are digital at home and we want to be digital at work too. So people want to be digital pretty much everywhere, especially at work because they want to do the things fast and easy. And how does that affect the logistics process? Well, you know, the creation of the new needs we were talking before have created new needs in customers and users of logistics industry. So cargo on time is no longer enough. Users want to know where is the cargo now, right now. Price fast is no longer enough. We want to know how much is the cost right now, immediately. And scheduling the deliveries is no longer enough. We want to know who's delivering what, when, and where. So we're facing a wave of over-controlling all the logistics process. But how is the logistics industry responding to these new needs from our customers? So let's see some of the digital innovation that have been open up in logistics industry. For example, the online tracking and the automated notifications, such as email, messages, push notifications. Online tracking is basically the fact that you can go online looking for your container, your AWB number, and see where it is and where it's located. And automatic notification, it's messages or email informing you when your cargo is delivered. To give an example, Amazon is having automated notifications. If you're having their apps installed in your smartphone, you can have an instant notification on when your package has been delivered or when it's due to depart, and so on. We want to know how much is the cost now. So the logistics industry have been implemented this system of live quotation online, the system of chatbots, which is basically an application that helps you whenever you access a website to talk with a robot with some preset answers to what is your inquiry. And Amazon has this, platforms such as Apple has this in their customer service, and that are in live quotation online. It's about you register yourself in the website, and then you get your quotation from point A to point B. We want to know who's delivering what and when. There are tracking platforms that can help you in management of the tracking access in your warehouse, and we're also having warehouse management tools, which are tools that applications that let you schedule the delivery based on what are the market needs. So for instance, if you need the purple t-shirt for Monday the 1st, you can schedule the purple t-shirt to be delivered on Monday the 1st, and if you're needing the yellow t-shirts on Wednesday the 3rd, you can have this scheduled to be delivered on Tuesday the 2nd, so you will never run out of items. So these are the main point of the logistics adaptation to the digitalization process. What is the problem now? So customers want their freight being handled with visibility, simplicity, and stability. So that would be easy now, but logistics in fact handles their freight in different ways. Logistics handle their freight in an invisible way, a complicated way, and an unstable way. So what happens is that those two industries are not really getting along right now, digitalization and logistics. So let's talk about what the customer would like to have, like the visibility of the freight. So customers want to know when their goods are picked up, when these are arriving, and where are all along the way. It is normal, and it is relevant for a freight forwarder, for any freight logistics company, to satisfy these needs. But let's see the factors for every single steps required from customers. For example, point 1, when their goods are picked up. So in order to schedule a pickup, you need to check for equipment type, mileage the driver is going to drive, weight restrictions on the road if any, dimensions restrictions. Maybe the customer wants to pick up a pallet which is too wide or too high for the equipment type we were having booked. Loading and unloading requirements. If maybe the shipper doesn't have the right equipment to load the cargo, or it is required a crane to unload the cargo at destination. Pickup time restrictions. Some warehouses have fixed time for pickup. Most of them do not open on 24 hours basis. And as well, of course, delivery time restrictions. And product type. You cannot pick up dangerous goods if you're not having a driver licensed for handling dangerous goods. You cannot pick up fresh food with a normal truck, or otherwise your fresh food's gonna be destroyed on the road. And this is just the steps to take before point 1. So all of this leads to enormous amounts of data inside, stored in text, codes, documents, messages that need to be translated in one simple output, which is not possible to simplify with a tracking tool. Because yes, you need the visibility of the freight, but how it is possible to nowadays to regroup all these points on when their goods are picked up? So here comes the limit of the first 2 points we were talking about earlier. Online tracking, in case of disruption, it doesn't give explanation. Delay due to bad weather, or congestion in connecting ports or airports, or any of the points we were talking about before. Pickup restriction, the delivery time restrictions, equipment type, commodity type, and automated notifications. It is automated, but do not have value if it doesn't tell you more than what you see online. Which means if you don't go the extra mile, it doesn't lead you anywhere knowing that your cargo is going to be delivered by the end of the day. If you want to know what time is going to be delivered, you need to go to the extra mile, talking to someone to see where are located, if the driver is stuck in a traffic jam, or anywhere else. About stability of the freight. Of course, customers want the shipments to be safe, fast, and cheap. They want to have no or very little risks all along the way. They want to move their goods at a fixed price, anytime and anywhere. And they want no disruptions whatsoever. So, freight and logistics companies are now structured to minimize the risks dependable on all the factors stated before. However, there are still risks that are not able to assess, like predicting the number of transportation assets. For example, during the Chinese New Year, there is a huge amount of transport disruption in China. And during Christmas Eve, there are a lot of disruptions in Europe and United States. Another thing is adequately address shipping requirements, which is, of course, knowing what are the restrictions of certain commodities. To give you an example, Qatar doesn't allow to import foodstuff in consolidated cargo with other kind of goods who are not foodstuff. So this is a disruption that may happen. And of course, cybersecurity, because the main problem to the stability of the freight, besides of the problems that may happen during a storm or an accident, fire, it's cybersecurity. Because if you're having your cargo being booked to be shipped to New York, and this actually goes in Shanghai, for example, it's going to be a problem for you, your customer, your logistics supplier, and so on. Cybersecurity, it is not an easy nut to crack. 2 of the biggest carriers, marine carriers, have been attacked by cyber threat in the last 2 years. So the struggle now is to deliver a satisfactory post-digital experience to companies and customers. So, as we said before, live quotation online is good, but it works only for standard cargo, not for special requests, takes only point A to point B without taking account of the needs of the customer. For instance, if a customer wants direct service only because their consignee do not want to risk to have their cargo being delayed in some transshipment ports or airports, maybe you want a slower transit time because you need time to get your cargo arriving after the holidays. And of course, letter of credit constraints. Many banks are still issuing letter of credits with old Incoterms from 2010, with many implications like vessels which are having flags from certain countries, or they forbid to ship on vessels from some kind of countries, and so on. And chatbots. Well, chatbots are useful, but they can respond to you only on standard inquiry. So it doesn't take chatbot doesn't really take account of the complex request. Many of them you can see in the websites are just nice decoration. They are programmed to ask to send an email or to talk to a human, and that leads to be an even more frustrating tools to be used with no longer competitive advantage. So while I keep talking on the freight request from a customer, simplicity of the freight. Customers want their shipment moving in and out smoothly with no complications, which is pretty much impossible. The dream shipment of a customer will be pick up on day A, arrival on day B, and delivery day on day C. Or maybe pick up on day A, arrival on day A, and delivery on day A. Well, freight logistics companies are required to work in a very volatile environment, subject to weather, accidents, political decisions, labor disputes, natural disasters. So when one of these factors arises and the person has not taken plain sight of all the previous factors we were talking earlier, there's a lot of stuff to catch up before even thinking how to solve the problem. So that's, again, the multiple occurrences require a huge amount of data insights stored in text, codes, documents, messages that needs to be translated in one single action, which won't be enough to solve the issue. Because if you're having a customer asking to pick up on day A, arrival on day B, and delivery on day C. So you pick up on day A, but day B, there is a snowstorm, like it is nowadays in Amsterdam or Paris. And so the operation of the airports are being stopped. And you postpone the delivery of one day. Then there is an accident going on in the airport. So you cannot pick up your cargo on day B. And then you have gone on day C already for the snowstorm, and you're going day D. And suddenly, day D, when you're able to go pick up your cargo, a strike coming on in the airport, and you cannot pick up your cargo either. So finally, you're having your cargo being delivered on day E. And all of these factors are being disruptive into what is a digital logistics connection. About the tracking platform, well, it's okay for a last minute or ready cargo inquiries, but not helpful to forecast or set a login to be done in 15 days from today, which means most of the tracking platform nowadays that offers you the possibility to get a track for your cargo are based on a spot basis. which means if they're having, let's say, 1 or 2 meters left in their truck, they can give you a good price, but it's like last minute trouble. You need to find the right foot for the right shoe to get a real benefit from it. And about the warehouse management tools, it's okay for internal scheme of the companies, but many of these still not communicate with external infrastructure, like traffic regulations, port operations, airport operations, weather, strikes, things we were talking before. If we are scheduling delivery, pick up on day A, delivery on arrival on day B, and delivery on day C, and your warehouse management tools schematically says that you're having purple shirts on day C, but then one of the factors stated before arrives, weather problems, strikes, you won't get your cargo being delivered on scheme C, on day C. So you will have to review your scheme or having your warehouse management tools to communicate with external factors, which is not happening yet. So why digital has not yet breached into the logistics process? Well, the key for any digital success, as we were saying at the very beginning, is plug the digital technologies with the human experience of all of us, whether it is personal experience or work experience. So let's see the case study of Facebook targeting ads and posts. So what passionate you in your Facebook profile becomes a marketing segmentation for the industry, and you will be more subject to see ads, posts, and themes about what you like and what you're more in to spend your money for. For instance, if you're interested in a soccer game and you press like to Manchester United soccer team, Barcelona soccer team, Real Madrid, Juventus, anything related to soccer, Facebook will show you as much post of soccer you will have. So think about how many times while opening your phone you press the Facebook app just to scroll around. Facebook have been plugged in their digital technologies with the human experience of all of us. I like soccer. I put what passionates me on Facebook, and then I have Facebook linked with my human experience. So let's see why digital has not yet breached into the logistics process yet. Well, there are three main reasons. Customer wants it the easy way, a short-term investment culture, and the difference between multitask and ambidextrosity. So, customers' requirements of stability to schedule, organize, and reschedule again doesn't get along with the multiple actors involved in the logistics process. A short-term investment culture. Customer wants a system that fits with their internal needs. Freight and logistics companies still make billions with their traditional business model, only partially adapting this to their customers' needs. It is the example of whenever you're seeing an offer from a freight to logistics companies on ocean freight. Some logistics companies are offering you an all-in price, but most of them are showing you a list of all the voices filing the rate. Ocean freight, bunkering, fuel surcharge, emergency surcharge, war and risk, pirate surcharge. So this is their business model, and it would be easier for the customer knowing what is the final cost in the end. I don't need to know what constitutes the price. But why they do that? Because they want to keep this under their own model. And finally, the difference between multitask and ambidextrous. There is a big confusion between being multitask, which means doing multiple operations at the same time, and ambidextrous, which is efficient today and adaptable by tomorrow. users want multitask and ambidextrous experience at the same time. So let's see in deep. The easy way. Customers are looking for an extension of their business, not a service provider to give them prices, but no accountability. The moment something goes wrong with the shipment, technology goes out the window and people revert to speaking directly to a human. How many times when you are having a problem, you just keep checking on computer what's wrong? If you're giving your services to someone else, you pick your phone and you call them. So there are still many problems that can only be solved by a human mind. Supply chains are so specific to each company's product range, operating footprint, that cannot really rely totally on digitalization. The easy way means that you can find an easy way to do things, but not an easy way to solve a problem. Let's go back to the problem of the snowstorm. If you expect your cargo being delivered on day C, which is it being picked up on day A, arrival on day B, and delivery on day C, and there is a snowstorm, but your digital system doesn't communicate with the external factor, and on day C you're not having your cargo in the warehouse, you pick up your phone and you call your logistics supplier and say, where is my cargo? So let's move on. A short investment culture. Well, new digital technologies must integrate with people, processes, and management infrastructure. Companies are not willing to redesign it, but are more likely to find someone adapting to them. This is the struggle of many logistics companies. Even if you're having your own way of working, you still need to adapt your way of working to what is the requirements of your customer. If your customer calls you asking where is your cargo, where is their cargo, they're not, the 90% of the cases, giving you your references, but they're giving you their own references. If I have some cargo being shipped to Cairo, I will call a logistic company and asking, where is my cargo going to Cairo, invoice number 203? So logistic companies need to go and looking for it. Companies preferring having someone already fit to render the service they want, fast and reliable, instead of finding a way internally to adapt to the ongoing changes in the industries they need to work with. Either it is technology, logistics, and taxes, anything. Think about technology. Companies are not looking for a system or a technological problem to solve their own problems. They have their own way of working, and they want something that fits their way of working. Why that? Because time is money. So nobody wants to lose time in adapting into a new system, because it's a short-term investment culture. Unless you're thinking about longer, but it's harder and harder day by day because of, especially during this pandemic, which had led every one of us living on a day-by-day basis. Time is money, and companies do not want to adapt. They want someone else being adaptable to their needs. And finally, multitask versus ambidextrosity. So today's supply chains must be cross-functional, but are struggling with the same problems they faced for decades: poor visibility, uncertainty, and slow decision-making. Poor visibility because many times you do not have the problem in your hands until the problem is being related to you. If a container doesn't go on board, you will know after the vessel has sailed. So you have no way to put the container on board because the vessel is already far away. And this comes with uncertainty. because even if you're doing anything you're able to do to put this container on board, you will be facing some problems someday. And of course, a slow decision making, because if there is any kind of problem, you cannot decide yourself for your customer or for your supplier. You need to talk with someone which needs to take the decision, and the decision may take longer. So many companies are confusing multitasking, which again is meaning doing multiple tasks at the same time, with ambidexterity, which is being efficient today but adaptable tomorrow. Logistics department in companies is usually handled by 1 or 2 persons who are expected to do multiple tasks, multitasking of course, today. However, they are not formed or informed on how to adapt in any case of disruption happening tomorrow. Let's take, for example, Diego Armando Maradona, the picture here. Imagine if Maradona was being asked to play midfielder, goalkeeper, and defender, other than attacker. He would not have scored as many goals he did score in all his life. So Maradona was not being asked to be a multitasking player. He was asked to be an ambidextrous player, because either if he was shooting with the left foot or the right foot, he was shooting for a goal, but nobody would ask him to play goalkeeper. So let's move forward. Let's talk about the freight forwarder, which is a digital human in the supply chain. For years, the supply chain relied on freight forwarders acting as middlemen to understand the necessity of the customers and how to satisfy those along with all the actors of logistics, whether the shippers and consignees only keep in touch each other. Freight forwarders are dealing with multiple actors in the logistics process on behalf of shippers or consignees. So, just to give you an example, freight forwarders are being in touch with ports, airports, carriers, customs, trackers, road authority, weather authority, insurance, and warehouses. So all these players dealing with one person only, which needs to report to its customer, either it is a shipper or consignee. So freight forwarders are the most relatable player in the supply chain industry to step into the digitalization of this industry. So let's talk about how the digitalization can be effective in the logistics company. Let's start by the regional logistics digitalization. Many aspects of freight and logistics can be digitized on a regional basis. For instance, port authorities and customs authorities are easy to be connected with trackers to facilitate access and operations. So in this case, freight forwarders can communicate with ports and airports, customs, trackers, road authority, and weather forecasts, so that, for example, when the ports of Rotterdam is being closed down due to heavy wind, the customs authorities is being advised, the trackers are being advised, the road authority gives an alert to everyone, and this comes from the weather authority. And all of that is linked to the freight forwarders, who knows in advance what will be the disruption on the regional basis. Because this is an information which could be needed from a freight forwarder from Rotterdam, from the Netherlands, maybe from Belgium. But of course, if the port of Rotterdam is closed down, it can rarely affect a freight forwarder from Shanghai. At least it is not affecting directly him, because he doesn't have to relate with the tracker on the direct basis. So let's move forward. A niche digitalization. So specific products industry can be regrouped in one specific platform to facilitate the cooperation between actors. For example, Fruit Logistics can benefit from a marketplace specialized in cold chain, having on board the specialized carriers and equipped trackers warehouse to optimize their means of service. So in this way, again, you can connect freight forwarders to different players based on the means of their services. Carriers, trackers, insurance companies, warehouses which are equipped with temperature controlled, for example. Again, the e-commerce logistics. The e-commerce logistics is the most relatable to the digitalization of the industry. With the latest COVID-19 pandemic, more and more people have gone online for shopping. So digitize the possibility of delivery from platform to customer would be beneficial for all parties involved. For example, Alibaba joined forces with the International Port Community System Association to pursue the blockchain bill of lading to track their shipments. So again, freight forwarders can connect with carriers, trackers, and warehouse to deal with the e-commerce logistics. So, going digital, it is an opportunity or a risk? Well, the first risk is associated with the visibility of the freight. Either it is favorable to users having an efficient visibility of their goods location, digital security is still victim of cybercrime. And even though blockchain is constantly growing, data breach can lead to commercial problems inside the companies, creating damage to the customer's database, as well as product licenses and copyrights. Let's take the example of a company that has some patent for some products that they are the only one who sells all over the world, and suddenly someone else find a way to breach into their datas and gets the secret recipe. It will be a huge problem for them. Again, a second risk is associated with the simplicity, what the customers are looking for. Why? Because cutting down over and over the competence from the logistics industry, which is something that has been built over the centuries, because you never learn, you never born or learned. It's what we say in Italian. Non si nasce imparati. We learn all along the way. So this cutting down of competence, which make the logistics simpler day by day, may lead to an overcrowd of logistics players, which are mainly price-oriented and less quality-oriented. So, especially when it comes to platforms, many platforms are not accountable for the quality of the service rendered, and do not take any liability for any problem you might encounter if you're dealing with the wrong logistics player. Because in the end, their margin is over a transaction between two independent actors in the logistics process, you and the supplier. And you know, even though you're having the problem and then the logistics supplier, which is not able to handle your problem, is being removed from this platform, you're still having the problem. So this is another risk. And finally, the stability. As we said earlier, stability is not multitasking, but it is the ambidexterity within. Working efficiently today, adaptable tomorrow. Any company totally relying on their inside process stability is not ready to deal with the outside disruption, which are intrinsic to the logistics field. Which means whenever you're having a kind of problem, you need to be able to adapt to this problem. And logistics is full of problems. So in the end, conclusions. Digital logistics is very close to the end user, e-commerce, but still far from small, medium companies who are the 80% of the total worldwide. As long as there will be differences in the country's rules, regulation, and infrastructures, automatism will be far from taking a step into the whole logistics process. Human interactions will be always required to solve the small multiple problems and to satisfy the small multiple requests from users and companies. And human freight management is finally coming to an end when the competence in logistics will be acquired in every step of the supply chain, understanding the multiple connections within every industries and the outside factors. Finally, digital logistics companies need to focus on creating a digital ecosystems where multiple systems can communicate each other, translate the codes of every step of the logistics process in different business languages, going beyond the concept of blockchain, which is too far away to conglomerate into a single operation figure. This was a short introduction of why the human touch is still required in the digitalization process of the logistics. Problems, whatever source they might be, they still require the human connection, but digital is linked to our human nature every day more. So it is not far away the day where the digitalization process will be covering us for any kind of problem we might have and any kind of disruption. I thank you everyone for your attention, and I hope you found this interesting for your needs. Thank you and bye bye.
Hello! Has any of you ever wondered what our lives will be like in 2050 or say in 2100? I'm asking because in 2020, during just 7 months, we've used all the resources the Earth renews in a year with a population of 7 billion people, which means that currently we consume 1.7 times its resources. But when the global population grows to 9.7 billion in 2050 and 11 billion in 2100, with current production and consumption patterns, we will need like 3 or more times the Earth's resources. Is it even possible? My name is Nikita Ivanenko, and today we are going to talk about the path to sustainable consumption and production patterns, so that planet and people are in complete harmony. What is actually sustainable consumption and production patterns? It's all about doing more and better with less. As you might have already noticed, we are currently consuming more resources than ever, and this consumption trend is growing at an exponential pace. Therefore, the successful transition to sustainable consumption and production patterns will mean tremendous improvements in resource efficiency, consideration of the entire life cycle of economic activities, and active engagement in environmental agreements by as many parties globally as possible. And how do you think? Who this transition must be started with first? Is it the government, society, separate individuals? From my point of view, the very first party we should start this transition from is manufacturing business. And guess why? The key reason is that in the supply chains, they are much earlier than consumers. Also, due to the inefficiencies in their processes, they usually need more raw materials than they would use if they worked efficiently and to their fullest potential. Furthermore, if they are not able to meet the actual consumer demand properly, they produce a vast amount of goods which end up in waste. For instance, the stats demonstrate that the overproduction in the food industry led to 51% of waste, in the textile industry to 30% of waste, and in other industries from 10 to 20% of waste. Apart from that, the inefficiencies in processes at manufacturing companies lead to excessive use of water and energy. And if we all keep using the water in the same way as we do now, especially for industrial purposes, by 2040 there won't be enough water available to meet global demand for both drinking and products manufacturing. So, how do you think? Why do these inefficiencies in their business processes as well as their inability to meet actual customer demand at manufacturing companies still occur? And is there the solution that will dramatically change the way how things are being produced so that the consumer always gets what he needs in the right quantities at the right time, and manufacturers work 100% efficiently in a wasteless environment. Does it sound like a future we'll all strive to achieve? I think the answer is obvious, because having that implemented, we will be way closer to sustainable consumption and production patterns, right? And back to the previous question, the answer is even more obvious. There is no solution available yet. Otherwise, the issues we've just discussed would have already been resolved, and we would enjoy a much more sustainable lifestyle than they are today. Let's assume there is already the desired solution. What is it like, and how is it different from existing solutions? Why do they fail to deliver the expected results towards more sustainable production? And why this solution will bring us to a more sustainable future that we all deserve? First, the vast majority of manufacturing companies have pushed their systems for their supply chains. That's when products are being pushed through their distribution channels from production up to the wholesalers and retailers based on the demand forecasts, which are almost always wrong or inaccurate, even though there is a solid historical data about sales and real customer demand during past periods of time. Of course, there are products that must be pushed to the customers, like brand new tech products, brand new car models, new products for housekeeping, etc. But the most efficient way to do it is via media channels, rather than producing them in advance, hoping for a huge customer demand in the future that might never become real. On the contrary, there is a solution called pull system. In pull-based supply chains, procurement, production, and distribution are demand-driven rather than based on predictions. Thus, the goods are produced in the amount needed by customers and exactly when they are needed. By doing so, companies can focus on eliminating waste activities in the production processes. As a result, they'll be able to optimize their resources and reduce the possibility of overstocking. The pull system is part of lean manufacturing. As a systemic way to increase efficiency and better please customers, lean manufacturing principles run counter to traditional mass production practices. Yet, they allow manufacturing businesses to consistently increase quality while decreasing costs. They emphasize key objectives like simplicity, flow, and balance. Companies large and small can leap over the competition by understanding and implementing this high efficiently demand-driven system. Let me explain each aspect of lean. First, as you already know, is pull system. Second is waste. Third is continuous improvement. So what is pull system? Pull system is a type of the system where components are used in the manufacturing processes and they are replaced once they have been consumed, so companies only make enough product to meet customer demand. This means all the company's resources are used for producing goods that will immediately be sold and return a profit. Essentially, a pull system works backwards, starting with the customer's order, then using visual signals to prompt action in each previous step in the process, as you can see on this figure. Second major lean manufacturing component is waste. Essentially, waste is any unnecessary step in manufacturing process that doesn't benefit the customer. Therefore, the customer doesn't want to pay for it. When you remove waste, you are left with only the steps that are required to deliver satisfactory, now high-valued product to the customer. There are 8 types of waste, which are defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, excess processing. First is defects. Defects is all about the quality of the product that doesn't satisfy the actual customer's needs and expectations. It can be either the product of poor quality or the process that could negatively impact the quality of the product. Some specific causes include poor quality control at the production level, poor machine repair, lack of proper documentation, or lack of process standards, etc. Next type of waste is overproduction. Overproduction is all about producing more than actually is needed by customers. It usually leads to overstocking or excessive inventory volumes, which causes extra costs to business. Common causes of overproduction include unreliable processes, unstable production schedules, inaccurate forecast and demand information, etc. Next one is waiting. Waiting is all about people, material, equipment waiting to start their job due to some reasons like raw materials are not in place yet and so the job can't be started. Common causes of waiting include unplanned downtime or delay equipment, long or delayed setup times, etc. Next type of waste is transportation. Transportation is the necessary movement of parts, double handling of materials, or shuffling of inventory to get access to the right components. There is also the frequently overlooked fact that people often have to make round trips, adding to the delay. It's surprising how far people walk in the course of a year in many processes. For instance, walking 100 feet to get parts 20 times a day can add up to nearly 170 miles a year. Just imagine how big that number is. 170 miles a year. Actually, common types of transportation waste include, as already mentioned, poor layouts, where there are large distances between operations. It's also about long material handling system, large batch sizes, etc. Next type of waste is related to inventory. Inventory waste is inventory that is left untouched, waiting to be used. It wastes space as well as the capital used to purchase the inventory without immediate financial returns. Common causes of inventory waste include overproduction of goods, delays in production, or waste of waiting, etc. Motion is the next type of waste. Motion is about the excessive motion of employees and equipment on a factory floor. Seemingly trivial excess can add up over time to generate significant inefficiencies that will lead to extra costs. Programmable machines can have motion waste designed into their behavior or layout. Pair of robotic arm swings in a longer arc than necessary, or an automated conveyor system could be designed to make shorter runs between processing equipment. Human motion waste can be created when a worker has to sort through a stack of molds to find the right one, or has to bend over repeatedly to adjust a control that's out of reach. Actually, common waste of motion include some examples like poor workstation layout, poor production planning, poor processing, etc. Last type of waste is called excess processing. Excess processing is related to management or administrative issues such as lack of communication, duplication of data, overlapping areas of authority, and human error. It may also be the result of equipment design, inadequate job station tooling, or facility layout. Examples of excess processing include like poor communication, poor documentation, non-understanding of the customer's needs, human errors, etc. And the third major part of lean manufacturing methodology is continuous improvement. Explained shortly, it's a never-ending strive for perfection in everything we do. In the context of the lean methodology, continuous improvement seeks to improve every process in the company by focusing on enhancing the activities that generate the most value for the customer, while removing as many waste activities as possible. So, as soon as all the waste as the organization are eliminated, continuous improvement is used in order to sustain the efficiency levels of all the value-added business processes in the company, as well as to immediately respond to the rapidly changing environment outside the company. For example, there are some new workplace regulations arrived, and using continuous improvement strategy, the company is able to immediately adapt to these changes without any impact on the quality of products and the efficiency of the existing business processes. All right, now we all know the major components of lean manufacturing. So let's explore what Industry 4.0 is. Industry 4.0 is a digital transformation of manufacturing and related industries, as well as value creation processes. In recent years, Industry 4.0 digital and physical technologies have made possible new accomplishments of speed, cohesion, flexibility, and automation that have forever altered what production looks like. Advances in robotics, materials, and artificial intelligence are all poised to be the future vanguards of manufacturing and beyond. As a result, digital technologies and lean principles are intersecting in what is commonly termed digital lean. which can be a powerful combination of timeless lean principles and constantly evolving digital technologies to decrease waste and variability in processes. So, let's explore how Industry 4.0 can enable companies to become digitally lean. Digital lean is not a new set of lean principles, but it enhances lean principles to make their application even more powerful. While systems of record such as enterprise resource planning often report on operations and they impact the company and plant financials, many digital lean systems of innovation produce detailed information on all aspects of the process. Digital lean also uses Industry 4.0 and other digital tools to provide more accurate, precise, and timely information about operations. Moreover, the increased availability of high-frequency data from Industry 4.0 technologies coupled with growing processing power has led to new analytics and insights that were virtually impossible several years ago. Do you remember we've discussed what waste is? Digital lean accelerates waste identification and its mitigation faster than traditional lean methods by giving targeted, detailed information directly to those who can reduce this waste. However, digital lean also provides an opportunity to target hidden components of waste as information asymmetry, latency that often go unnoticed and that cumulatively add up to higher support costs and reduced efficiency and output, resulting in tangible bottom line impact. Digital lean generally requires 3 key enablers at a plant, and every plant will have different immediate needs across these 3 areas. First one is the collaboration between information technology and operation technology. Actually, prior to Industry 4.0, both were mostly 2 distinct areas with little to no overlap. To unlock its full potential, digital lean requires integration of them both, which brings plant and operations data to plant and business users. Second key enabler of digital lean is standardizing of processes. Actually, plant processes generate data that serves as input for digital lean. But if processes are not carried out with standardization and discipline, accurate and continuous data could not be forthcoming. As a result of impact of a digital lean initiative would be muted. Key in this regard is the role of plant leadership in defining and enforcing processes to ultimately provide more accurate data. Third key enabler of digital lean is bringing the process to life. It's all about data-enabled technology platforms. As important as IT and OT collaboration, discipline, process, and data management are, relevant technological platforms should be leveraged to truly harness the benefits of digital lean. Okay, so what are the benefits of digital lean? When digital lean is implemented successfully, organizations can expect to reduce costs and improve quality, in turn leading to better productivity and a stronger return on investment when compared with individual digital or traditional lean improvement projects implemented in isolation. With digital lean, the manufacturer can build on its lean foundation and leverage new technologies such as machine learning and predictive maintenance to solve previously unsolvable business problems and unlock previously unreachable productivity frontiers. Digital lean already utilizes and unites digital with management practices to solve business problems. An organization that uses digital lean with intensity on applicable high-value business problems can potentially expect to see the greatest returns. Moreover, digital lean transformations and improvement projects target long-established performance measures such as improving OEE, reducing cost, and improving safety and sustainability. When approaching the plateau of the traditional lean optimization curve, manufacturers have seen considerable incremental value across all traditional measures by focusing on digital lean improvements, as you can see in this figure. To achieve the greatest return on investor, manufacturers should focus digital lean initiatives and programs in the largest areas of opportunity. This generally include unlocking the capacity of constrained assets, improving strategic assets efficiency, decreasing comparatively high total cost of poor quality, decreasing labor spent, and decreasing or eliminating unnecessary raw material costs. As you can see, digital lean is typically effective and robust. It can reduce the effort to understand operations and generate more accurate, precise, and timely information. It's more than a set of Industry 4.0 tools, encompassing reevaluating current processes using a digital mindset, changing behaviors, and shifting decision-making away from experience-based to data-based far more efficiently than lean processes alone could ever do. Moreover, targeted strategic digital lean efforts do not necessarily require significant upfront investment to realize the benefits in weeks. But how one should start the digital lean transformation journey? There are a lot of lean consultants available on the horizon, however, they are usually costly and not all organizations can afford them. But besides them, lean consultants themselves are not equipped with the software tools needed to control the digital lean transformation journey. So in addition to the lean consultants, companies must purchase some software tools that might also be costly because currently the biggest tools for manufacturing require some extra manpower in the roles of consultants and engineers that will guide the companies on how to use them, as well as customize the tools based on their needs, drive migrations or integrations, etc. For instance, did you know that 98.6% of US manufacturing companies are small businesses, and 75.3% of them have even fewer than 20 employees? Therefore, if we all strive to achieve sustainable consumption production patterns in the nearest future, the solution that will help manufacturing companies with their lean transformation journeys must be created. It must play a role of a regular lean consultant, but obviously cost way less, and it must consist of the tools and techniques digital lean can offer so that even small and medium-sized manufacturers can start their digital lean transformation journeys. From my point of view, once the solution is used by thousands of manufacturing companies globally, the world's transition to more sustainable consumption and production patterns will be significantly accelerated. If you agree with me and want to discuss this topic or the solution itself, feel free to reach out to me via either direct email or LinkedIn. Here you can see my email. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Feel free to reach out to me.
Hello. Do you know that 30 to 40% of food going to waste in America every year? 146 million tons of food waste end up in a landfill. 600 million people around the world get sick every year from food contamination. Besides that, the cost of inefficient supply chain costs nearly 2 billion in the UK each year and 65 billion in India. How can we save those costs and eliminate those unnecessary wastes? Improving supply chain performance is the answer. But how do you know if your supply chain works at its best possible way? Doing the supply chain optimization is the answer to that. Hello, my name is Jit Hinchman, founder of Supply Chain Advisor and Sustainable Supply Chain Global Ambassador. Happy to be here with you today, address those issues through smart and future supply chain optimization. So let's get started. The agenda for today, we are going to understand what is supply chain optimization, its characteristics and best practices, evolving states, and the roadmap to achieve the future and smart supply chain optimization. So what is supply chain optimization? It is the application of process and tools to ensure a supply chain operates at its best possible optimal performance based on available resources and constraints that you face. When you look into the good supply chain optimization process, it needs to consider customer needs based on business model. And it's also consider both sides, both supply and demand, so that you can match them. It needs to address supply chain pain points. It needs to have the risk management and maintain competitive advantage. So you need to know if you're still working under the silo, or do you have the visibility from end to end of your network? What about agility and resiliency? Do you have those capability? And how long does it take you to respond to the disruption? And if some part of your network get disrupted, do you have the ability to react to that and to change things around so that you still keep your customer demand fulfilled? And also consider sustainability and social responsibilities as well. So when look into supply chain optimization process, is separate into 3 phases. So before we go into that, you need to know what are you going to achieve, what you want to do. You need to have the mission and vision in mind. Are you going to do the inventory optimization, or are you going to optimize the service level or the speed of the flow in your network? Because each of those is impact each element that you need to trade off accordingly. So it's important to set up what is it that you want to achieve. That way you can set up the supply chain strategy that need to be aligned with the business strategy as well. And you need to have the clear objective and goal and the measurement, and also decide the network flow. This including the physical assets and also transaction, so that it covers both product, service, and information. So the next phase is the planning phase. This you need to create the deployment plan based on the design that you want, that address the inventory, facility, capacity, distribution channels, transportation management system, warehouse management system, resources, team, those kind of things, timeline you need to address into it. So the third phase is the execution. So putting plans into action, you need to measure the performance that you put into action. Is it going according to the way that you want it to do? How do you know? You need to put the feedback into the system so that you can adjust accordingly. You need to measure it, make sure that you are heading into the right direction. Otherwise, you need to adjust and adapt. So the characteristics and best practices of supply chain optimization, it needs to have the ability to fulfill customer needs and market demand. You need to work at peak performance at optimum cost and have the profitability as well. It also have the visibility and resiliency. Consider risk management and have the compliance and business continuity plan into it as well. Have the ability to track and trace. And of course, you need to have intelligence and innovation. I have the speed that you can adjust according to the customer needs, and also have ability to customize order management and flexibility. Performance measurement and feedback, and of course, the reporting and data analytics. Evolving states of future and smart supply chain optimization. So when we look, this is from the need that need to adjust the traditional linear supply chain model that we used to consider. Even the business operation are still operate in that sense as well. If you look at today supply chain model that we have, it's pretty much linear. Each player or each entity in the supply chain network connect with each other with from one entity to the next, pretty much in linear term, including the way that the information flow or the transaction flow is also from one entity to the next. What happened is it's too slow. Not only is too slow, it also doesn't reflect the reality, because in reality, every entity and have the transaction happen in multiple directions all the time and every part around the world. So the new supply chain model that can support that is because of the birth of digital supply network, which is empowered by intelligent technologies. So smart supply chain optimization makes the best use of technology and resources, such as blockchain, AI, Internet of Things to improve efficiency and performance in the supply chain network. So what happened is that every member, every entity connect with each other and share the same set of information. So it have the end-to-end transparency, ability to see across the network. So, and have the ability to proactively operate across the network. So have the predictive alerts, advanced analytics, and have edge computing. It happened in the connected environment that have the ability to extend into the suppliers and the customers. And the collaboration happened in real time and live data sharing as well. So it had the ability to identify and utilize the right people, right human and machine to work together. So have ability to optimize the resource, and artificial intelligence and optimization algorithm make that to happen. And also have holistic decision making. So ability to continuously learn and make optimal network decision. So machine learning and all that can help as well. So if you can see that, the need of smart supply chain optimization, when it comes to that point, the supply chain optimization will have the ability to sense, to adapt, to monitor, to fulfill, and connect in real time. This happens with both physical and transaction as well. So it's already happening. And like we mentioned earlier, that in the food system, if we can eliminate those waste, it will save a lot of food waste and also save life as well. So some organization is already deployed the pilot. So Walmart is already have ability to trace the food, the mango, sliced mango from the store back to the farm, improve from traditional trace back from over a week down to 2.7 seconds. So imagine that, if you have the ability to know how long the food was on the shelf, how fresh it is, how clean it is, it would help to eliminate food waste and also save lives as well. So the end-to-end traceability is important. It provides full transparency and improve supply chain efficiency as well. This is another case study that BASF operate in the global value chain with high service standards, requiring a close coordination between supply and distribution points. And the transformation that they work with IBM to get the proof of concept to demonstrate that AI and machine learning could support supply chains with smart visualization and relevant information to support supply decision and develop replenishment advice. So it increased visibility and improve agile response and greater monitoring and optimization. So we know that smart and future supply chain optimization is the answer to address those issues of eliminating waste and improve supply chain performance. But how do we get there? So the roadmap to achieve future and smart supply chain optimization is always start with knowing your supply chain inside out. So you cannot do anything if you don't know where things are, right? This makes sense. So it's important to do supply chain evaluation and mapping your supply chain. It's also important to know that when you evaluate your supply chain or you map your supply chain, you can segment it based on either based on your customer or based on the product that you provide. So that one company doesn't need to have one supply chain. You have different type of supply chain based on the products and the customer that you have. So to give the better perspective, you can put that into the picture And also it would help your team as well to know where things are. And when it comes to budget consideration, because sometimes you need new tools in order to help you to get smart supply chain optimization. I always encourage the client to compare the budget between cost to transform versus cost of not transforming, because we all know what is the cost of not transforming. You may not be able to stay relevant in the business and lose the customer as a result, and your business at the end. So it's important to get the difficult conversation, be honest and be true to the team and to each other. That way you can get down to what is it that you need to consider in order to get it moving. So after that, you do the digital transformation roadmap and do gap analysis. It's important to know where you are. It's always good and always possible to start where you are and know where you want to go, so that you can decide, you can do the gap analysis and acquire things that you need along the way. So choosing the right technologies is important, and the right knowledge and talent development partners, because having the right talent is certainly would be the key component to help you get what you want to achieve in your supply chain. It's always important to start the pilot program and start small. That way your team can celebrate the small wins and also help you get better traction as well, so that you can set the pilot program in a small area or in some area that you think that you can have the team to have better understanding along the way. And after that, you can scale the transformation. And I think it's important to address that. It's always make sure that you're always finding ways to disrupt from within and nurturing the innovative and learning culture to your organization, because that way people get used to it and understand that it's important to keep moving and improving. So as we come to summary, we have idea what is supply chain optimization. We look into the characteristic and best practices and evolving states and roadmap to achieve smart supply chain optimization. I would say that when it comes down to the key that help you to achieve supply chain optimization, how do you know if your supply chain is optimized? It's come down to two things. So first is a successful of your trade-off of the elements that you need to consider. You need to be able to balance that out based on the available resource and the constraint that you face. So the second one is you need to have the ability to maintain those states. So you set up the standard, either inventory level or the service level that you want to achieve. That is your ideal of that your supply chain is optimized at that level. But once you achieve it, sometimes things happen all the time. So you need to have the ability to maintain that for your performance. That way you keep your supply chain optimized. That would be the end of this session. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any question, let me know. Please reach out. Again, my name is Jean Hinchman, a founder of Supply Chain Advisor. We are specialized in research and consultation, and we make sure that to put your success as our priority. Check out our website, supplychainadvisor.com. And thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.